Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Power Women in Insurance podcast. My name is Teresa Kitchens, your host, and I am excited today because I actually just got back from one of my cluster meetings, and we talked about leadership. And leadership is, I think, right now, one of the things that we need in this industry more than we need almost anything else. There's so many great avenues and coaches and things like that that really revolve around the conversation of sales. There's some great programs out there for service. There's some great programs out there for the finances, specifically on an agency. But one thing I think people try to just lean on the conversation of business tactics for the conversation of leadership. But I think that in today's culture of the hard market where we are, and today I'm recording is May 3rd, 2024. So in this hard market that we're in right now, I do think that we need to be able to have a different approach to leadership. I think it needs to be dramatically different than what we've been able to see. So let's dig a little deeper. Let's talk about what that may look like in your career, and let's get our hands dirty on this topic. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are excited today to be able to talk about leadership. I am here working in my home office, and if you are on the YouTube channel, you'll be able to see that I've got my puppy over here beside me a little bit. Here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show her out. She's my little 3-pound nugget. She's sweet, but she likes to be up here on the desk with me. So if you're watching the video, that's a little explanation. But today we're talking about leadership. Okay. So leadership comes in all shapes and sizes. And I think people think of leadership as ownership. People think of leadership as somebody who has permission to be in charge, somebody who has permission to make decisions. And I want to make sure that in this market and who we are today, that we look at leadership a little bit differently. Leadership is being able to lead. And it is beyond the conversation of whether or not you've been given a personal gauntlet to be able to, or the talking stick to be able to lead. I think a lot of people think leadership has to come from someone who is officially designated for that position. And I don't agree with that whatsoever. I think leadership is something that everybody on the team has to make sure that we develop. And I say that because we might be mentoring the person next to us, maybe a younger agent in the industry. Maybe we might be mentoring a new salesperson, right? We might be needing to make sure that we step up to ask the hard questions, maybe with a team member that's been around for a while, that maybe we can say, hey, how can I help you if they take time off or they have something happen in their life or something like that. Leadership is stepping up to do what needs to be done. And I think that that means whether or not you're helping your clients, whether or not we're helping our team members, whether or not we're helping our neighbors, whether or not we're helping anyone, our boss, okay? That is leadership. And I think we need to get outside of the box because I think in this hard market, we're waiting for people to do things. We're waiting for people to tell us where the next, maybe a carrier that we need to be able to subscribe to, or we're waiting for people to tell us how to sell something. We're waiting on somebody to tell us how to navigate these waters. And I think we need to make sure that we have a little bit of a different conversation, one that is open, one that is honest about mental health, one that is honest about maybe better systems, structures, operations, maybe to be able to streamline our operations, maybe how to be able to say something that maybe needs to be said to our clients in a way that shows them that we care and that we're here for them for all their insurance needs, but yet at the same point, maybe is more educational than maybe we would have done before. But I think the first step to being able to be a leader is to be able to identify things that need to be done and places where we need to step up. Okay. So the first is going to be awareness. Let's just talk about awareness right now. Okay. Be aware of what's going on around you with your team members. Maybe they're struggling. Maybe there's something that they don't want to tell you. Maybe there is something that they don't want to make public, or they feel like because of the fact that maybe that's their private life, they don't want to be able to bring it up. But I think the being sensitive, being aware of the changing things around us is the first step to awareness. It could be maybe if, the market is changing, right? Leadership means maybe thinking outside the box on some of those ways of being able to be more efficient. It might mean looking and maybe piloting technology in your agency, right? Maybe if you want to say you want to go to your boss or a supervisor and just say, hey, I would really like to be able to pilot the concept of implementing this in the office or talking about this in the office. And I think that being able to step up is really, really important. I know a lot of quote unquote leaders, right, that are designated to lead are overwhelmed, exhausted. And I know a lot of team members are overwhelmed and exhausted. But if we can say together that we can innovate and we can grow together as a team, then I think that gives us that extra um, push that we need right now. We need inspiration. We need love. We need the ability for us to be able to communicate better amongst ourselves. We need to support each other. We need to feel like we're working for a better tomorrow, whatever that looks like. It might be, hey, I want to get really involved in my state organization or my local city organization. That's leadership too. Bring that knowledge, that information back to the agency. Maybe it's that in leadership, you want to say, hey, I want to get out. I want to do something to help bring in more leads. I want to do something to help. Maybe if you're a CSR, you're in service. Maybe if you want to get on out and do some networking, bring in some leads, things like that. Maybe if that's something you're passionate about, or you want to make sure you kind of branch out on, maybe do something a little different than you do on a normal basis. Opening up those conversations and being aware that maybe it's something that your agency needs is the first step. Then we need to think through, why is it good for my agency? Why is it good for me? Why is it good for my culture? Why would it benefit me? Because if you're going to go excuse me, and talk to somebody on your team, on, with a group or an organization, you need to know why this is going to benefit you. Plus, sometimes these things take time and they get hard. We need to have that motivation of why this is important to us. And if we identify what needs to be changed or what needs to be led towards something, and then say, why do I want to make sure that I help my teammate if they're going through a hard time, maybe helping them to be able to get through their emails, helping them to be able to make sure that we help with some of their policy reviews or whatever it might be, right? If we have that awareness, we step up and we know why we want to be able to do those things, then it's going to make it, when things get hard, we're going to have that intrinsicness that keeps us pushing forward. Huge, huge. Maybe you want to make sure you bring in automation because you think it would really, really help team morale. Maybe it would really, really help efficiency, give the client a more consistent experience. Those are all really good reasons, right? Same thing, maybe you want to help a teammate. Maybe if they're down, they're having a hard time, maybe they're going through something, and sometimes work is a little bit more challenging, right? If we help them, then you know what? Number one, it brings camaraderie to the agency. It helps them. They'll help you when you go through things in the future. It helps to build community. And you know what? That is so valuable, right? If we just work heads down, we go to work, we come home, we do our job, and we don't ever grow, our team and we are going to feel stale. And then these hard markets come in and we have the same conversations 80,000 times per day. And we have a lot of challenges, right? We're quoting a lot. We might not be able to make those sales. And some people right now might not want to talk about value of an insurance policy or coverages. They might only want to talk about price, unfortunately. But there are lots of different things like that that can exhaust us. But being able to think outside the box, be innovative, step up for leadership, grow, that helps people to feel passionate about where they are and what they're doing. And that is super valuable. So we want to be aware of the changes that need to be able to occur whenever we are really working on leadership. And then we want to make sure we know why those changes are really, really important for us to be able to kind of put ourselves out there for those types of changes. Then we want to know maybe how that's going to happen. I used to, when I first started getting into work, into business and owning this agency, I used to come to my team with every single idea. I used to come back from conferences fired up, ready to go, and it was exhausting for them. So I needed to be able to, not only for myself, identify what I needed to do, why I needed to do it, but also how I needed to do it, right? Because I know that I probably made it to where they ignored 80% of what I said because number one, we never did it. Number two, I didn't know how we were going to do it. And number three, they didn't know if it was their job to do it, my job to do it. They did not know what was going on with it. So the reality is we need to think these things through a little bit before we just jump in. And especially if we're trying to get team buy-in or leadership buy-in in your agency to allow us to be able to think outside the box and maybe implement new things, we need to make sure we know our why. Then we need to be able to ask, am I the person to do it? Right? Maybe I'm not tech oriented. Maybe I'm not, I don't work the same hours as somebody else does, so I can't necessarily help them. But, maybe you can say, maybe we need to be able to create a space for someone in the office to do this. Maybe somebody else who's more passionate about it, right? I am not the best person at a lot of things. And maybe it's something we need to hire out, right? Like maybe if it's automation or technology, maybe we can hire somebody to come on in and help us. Maybe we can cast the vision. This is what I want our agencies to accomplish, but I'm not the person to go build it, right? I want to be able to drive a car, but I have no idea how to fix a car or how to build a car. So you know what? What do? I go to a car dealership and I talk to people who know cars. So if you want to get into maybe social media, if you want to be able to grow in your business or in your position, and you need tools to do that, maybe one of the questions is, not only do we need to vision it, we need to make sure that we are aware of it. Number two, we need to make sure that we know what we need to be able to do. And then we need to know why we need to be able to do it and how we need to be able to do it, but maybe even who needs to do it. Okay. It does not have to be us. A lot of times there might be a financial situation to where we feel a responsibility to do something, but we hear this conversation all the time of even if I can, should I? I'm going to let that really, really set in. I can do blank, but should I? Maybe somebody else in the agency should. Maybe, like I said, it's something we need to delegate to an outside service. I know in my agency, we are really working hard on automation this year. And last June, I said, I am not that person. That is just not me. That is not that. I cannot be that person to build that out. So we hired Lava Automation. It's gone very, very well. I'm very, very impressed. Very, very good automation that we've been able to develop. But I knew that for it to get done, it was not going to be me. And I knew our staff was busy enough that they would sit in on meetings and we could get what we want. We could cast the vision for what we want. But I knew that none of us wanted to sit around and build it out. So maybe you have somebody in your office who loves that kind of thing. Delegate it. Okay. But give them time to do it within their normal workday, right? So maybe you could say like Fridays are your day that you're not going to take phone calls or you're not going to do service. But what we want to do is make sure that you build out, that automation, or 2 afternoons a week or something like that. Or they go away for like a conference, or, the point is getting the right person to do it. All right. Just because we have the vision, just because we know why it would benefit our agency, doesn't mean it has to be us doing it. And then know what winning should look like at the end. This is the path of leadership, okay? Is knowing what winning looks like. If we can't sit down and cast that vision for our team or for a service maybe that we're going to hire to do something, or if we're coaching or mentoring, if we cannot inspire, then we need to take a step back and say, why am I doing this? We're back to that why, right? So what does winning look like? Because otherwise we never know when we get to that point of winning. We might even want to say these are the stages of winning, right? Like, quarter one, this is what we want to be able to accomplish. So that's a win if we accomplish these things. Break it down into smaller chunks. And then as you break it down into smaller chunks, make sure that you cast the vision for the next chunk or 3 chunks down. All right. It doesn't mean by casting that vision or chunking it out, that's the end product. Okay. You could say, okay, we've got a year 2024 planned out for our build out for technology or whatever, right? But then maybe in 2025, you're going to cast a totally different, not a totally different version, but say 2.0, right? But you know what 1.0 looks like. So you know what winning looks like. You know if you're on the right track. You can give yourself that pat on the back. Because again, it's a long process. We need to keep our why in place. We need to know what the end goal is. And maybe we need to know what stages of the goal is so that we get that encouragement so we can make sure that we are accomplishing the goals. Part of leadership too is saying thank you. Part of leadership is looking back. Part of leadership is helping the next person along in the path. It's helping others. It could be your clients, your team members, another agency person. You could go talk about it at maybe a state organization or a local organization, helping realtors or helping vendors or referral partners or whatever. But the key is part of leadership is passing it on. So in today's market, it's a hard market. We know that. It's going to be going on for a little while longer. And what we need to do is find things that inspire us, that set our soul on fire. And by doing that, we're going to be able to step into that leadership role that helps us to be a better person today and create a better community for tomorrow. My name is Teresa Kitchens. Thank you so much for joining us here talking about leadership today. And change. We talked a lot about leadership and change. I appreciate you for listening, for being a part of the Power Women in Insurance podcast. And if you have any ideas for guests, if you would like for us to be able to hear from somebody, please reach out. We are on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, Power Women in Insurance. We also are on Apple iTunes, Google Podcasts. We are on Spotify, all the cool places. So feel free to reach on out, connect, look me up on Facebook. Teresa Kitchens, very, very easy. And I look forward to being able to speak with you again soon. Everybody, have a great day.